So excited for this next interview. Cleveland's rich history, in the arts and entertainment is rooted in our historic venues, past and present.
Yeah, and among them was the fabulous Front Row Theater, and at its peak, it was the place to see the A-list stars in Northeast Ohio. And now we get to relive those memories as part of a new book, as Steph is showing you. It's called As the Stage Turned, a Front Row Memoir. Joining us now, the author, Jeannie Esmer Schultz. Good morning.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Steph.
Thanks for being here.
Fine, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I mean, there's probably a few people, who are younger who may not have had the chance to experience it or be a part of that, but what a venue this was.
Mm-hmm. It was a place to be seen and to see the stars, Vegas stars, mostly some of them at the dawn of their careers, like Whitney Houston, and at the sunset of their careers too, because holding 3,200 seats, we couldn't have the rock stars that would go to the old Coliseum or it would go down today like Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Yeah. But we'd have them there for 8 performances.
Wow.
Just amazing. I mean, I remember as a little girl growing up in Alliance, that was a treat. My family would come up to Cleveland for dinner and we'd go see a show here. I saw Tony Orlando here.
And Don.
Had my first kiss when he was 6 years, I was 6 years old and brought him a rose on the stage and he gave me a kiss. Recently ran into him, but it was an opportunity in the front row. You felt like you were in the front row at the theater in the round. It was all right at you, all these most amazing performers.
There was no seat more than 60 feet away. Wow. But you talk about being in the front row. When we had Robin Williams, he was Mork back then. It was the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
He was on stage, and there was a lady in the front row, which was very close to the stage, and she had a camera, and he said, "Lady, what are you trying to do? Take pictures of my nose hair?" And he said, "Give me that camera." And he took the camera, and he had those pants with the elastic.
Sure.
He put it out, and he put the camera down, and he shot it, and the flash went off, and everybody laughed. And he gave it to her, and he said, "Tell me how that one comes out."
Gosh, how funny. Well, and it gave you an opportunity to really interact with the audience like that.
Yes.
I have so many questions for you. Looking at your book, it's fantastic. The photos are amazing of all of these performers, so young and at the beginning of their careers. I mean, page after page after page, I was so drawn in. How do you remember all these stories? Because you talk about all these incredible little nuances and backstage requests, which leads to my next question. What was the most bizarre backstage request for someone? We always hear of like the M&Ms or whatever.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, it was unusual. I don't know how bizarre it was, but every time Luther Vandross came, he would ask for a new toilet seat. He had to have a new toilet seat.
Like a fresh, clean
toilet seat. But the rest of them were all food, and we found out after a while who liked what champagne that you would have to have. Like Tom Jones would have to have Dom Perignon, which at the time was about $90 a bottle, probably more now, for every performance. So that was extra money that he got. He didn't have to pay taxes on too. But we never saw him drink it. So either he took it back to the hotel or he has a great wine collection at home.
Courtesy of the front row.
Right.
I want to hit a couple of things. You wanted to highlight a few things. Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh, Alice Cooper, that was something. First time we had Alice Cooper, I went backstage to talk to him in the band, and I noticed his boa constrictor, and it's wound around the luggage rack. And I hate snakes, but I thought I'd show some bravado, and I said, "May I pet your snake?" And he said, "Sure, but don't pet it by the head because it hasn't been fed." I said, "Okay," so I petted it gingerly, and I turned to address the band, and all of a sudden something grabbed my ankle from behind, and I must have jumped 6 feet, and my brain is telling me, "Snake, snake."
Right.
And I turned around, it was one of the guys, and they're all laughing, and they say, "We never get tired of doing that." But months later, Alice was in a Tennessee hotel, and he'd leave the boa in the bathtub, but he left the seat up on the commode. It went down into the plumbing. They didn't find it for 2 weeks, and it came up through someone else's guest room, which that's a whole scenario you could figure out. So I don't think Alice is allowed in that hotel anymore.
Especially with his snake. That is an unbelievable story. Tell us about who was Bob Newhart had to have a naked picture of somebody.
Yeah, I went into Bob Newhart's dressing room. It was always interesting to see how they personalized their dressing room because they'd be there for a whole week.
Yeah.
And Bob had this nude picture of a man standing up, totally nude, bent over, staring through his legs with all the family jewels exposed. And I went, "Is there a story about this picture?" He says, "Look closely. Who do you think that is?" And I said, looks like Anthony Newley, the actor. He said, it is. He says, Tony sent this picture to all his friends in his Christmas card.
No
He says,
way.
I take it with me because it makes me laugh every time I look at it. So when we had Anthony Newley about later on in the year, it was really hard to look him in the eye and not break up because I saw more of Anthony Newley than I really wanted
yes.
to.
Or that his doctor's ever seen too.
How
Wow.
about Don Rickles?
Don Rickles. Don was one of the most teddy bear people. And to me, comedians were, there was a dichotomy. They were either really nice or they were really bad. No in between. But Don always didn't want to do interviews. He wanted to sit in his underwear in the hotel and watch game shows. And we finally found something. We said, Don Rickles was really good friends with Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
And we said, well, you know, Bob did this interview. Oh, well, Bob did it? Well, then I'll do it.
Oh, really?
So every time he came, we'd say, well, you know, Bob did this and this and this. Okay, I'll do that.
Oh
you know.
my
As long
gosh.
as you had precedent for it.
Yeah.
What do you remember most fondly about the front row?
Well, you were so close to the performers, and they're really of our circuit of in the round theaters with a revolving stage. There's really only one left on Long Island, Westbury. There is one in Dallas and one in Phoenix, but they weren't on our circuit. And it was becoming hard for security too, because we did have a problem with Rick Springfield at his height. He was on stage, and we had 6 aisles coming down, and a teenage girl went breakneck speed down onto the stage and jumped on his back.
Oh my God.
That was me.
I-
No, I'm kidding. It
I
was not.
happened to
I'm
be
just
on the
kidding.
other side watching him,
Yeah.
and I said, if someone would have taken a picture, that picture would have been award-winning because his face was just. But he went on with the show, and then we
Yeah.
had somebody else running down the aisle with scissors for Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
But she didn't want to hurt him; she wanted to cut off a lock of his hair. But
To save it. Oh my gosh.
security became a problem
Yeah.
with the theaters in the round like that.
Real quick, what's the real reason? Why did it close?
Well, it didn't close for all the reasons that you see on the internet. It closed because Playhouse Square was courting us, and my boss, Larry Dolan, thought that the future of entertainment was downtown because the Rock Hall was just being built, the Science Museum, the new ballpark. And we had so many things go wrong. We had 2 lifetime guarantees on the roof, which leaked like a sieve every time it rained. And insurance for the theater was going up from the beginning, $40,000 to $400,000. And there were so many things that
Wow.
had to be redone. They figured they'd have to put 2 years of their profits back into it. So besides moving down to Playhouse Square, which was great, we didn't just have 1 theater to book. We had 5 at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah. Well, you're amazing. The book is amazing. You mentioned the Rock Hall. The book is at the Rock Hall.
Yes,
But
the
you
book
can
is at the
also
Rock-
buy it where else?
Well, Cleveland Landmarks Press is the publisher, and you can go on clevelandlandmarkspress.com, order it directly. They have it at Fireside Books in Chagrin.
Oh, yeah.
Max Books on Coventry and Cleveland Heights, Cleveland Clothing at East 4th Street, and of course the Rock Hall just got it
That's
as well.
awesome.
It's amazing.
It's
It's,
really great.
amazing. It's amazing. You are amazing. Your stories are incredible. I just, Liberace, I mean,
Right?
Frank Sinatra, I just, oh my
Jeannie,
gosh.
thank you
I
so
love
much.
you, Jeannie.
Thank you. Love you.